Today, I'm going to show you how to go from zero quality clients to consistent income. And this is exactly what I did to be able to transition out of my corporate six-figure salary into doing this business full time. I'm going to walk you through a few things that we're going to cover today. One, we're going to be talking about what we call your ideal client identification. Second, we're going to discuss what we call an Olympic offer. Then we're going to cover installing the predictability loop and then building a value nurture system. These are all things that allow me to be able to go full time and help a lot of people. I also got some additional cards and details that I'm going to walk you through so you actually know what you need to do in order to get better clients and bring them into your program so you don't have to arm wrestle someone to start buying your products and your services. So that's what we focused on today. All right. So the very first one is what we call your ideal client certification. So Terrell, what do you mean by that? So if I had to start all over, the first thing that I would do is identify my ideal client identification. This is focused on really two things, right? Number one is the who. The who are you looking to work with? Who are you looking to help? I'm thinking roles. I'm thinking job titles. I'm thinking stay-at-home moms. I'm thinking entrepreneurs. Like you gotta know who you want. And this is one of the biggest challenges that I see coaches and experts make is that they're too afraid to say, I want to help this particular person because they think it's going to limit their business or they think they're not helping everybody. Don't worry. The people who get value from it is going to get value from it. But you're not helping anybody in particular if you're not calling out to someone to say, I want to help you. So you really have to identify the who if you want to help, if you want to be able to get better quality clients and leads. And then the second is the problem. You got to identify the problem. The problem is what gives us the ability to say, I'm solving this problem, this particular pain point for you. You want to be a specialist in a particular area. There's no way you're going to grow a successful coaching business if you're trying to help everybody with everything under the sun, especially now with a lot of information out on AI. And then when it's general, it's a lot of people doing it. When you're a specialist in a particular area, I want to go to a heart surgeon. I don't want to go to a general doctor or a practitioner, or general doctor if I have heart problems, right? That was one of the first problems that I had when I started in this industry. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to help everybody with everything. And I'm like, all right. And I changed my niche a few different times. And then I eventually landed on general business coaching. And I'm like, I'm just going to help everybody. So I was helping people who were in insurance, and I was helping a this lady, she had a black-owned seafood restaurant down in Virginia. Then I was helping this other lady who sold soaps. Then I was working with this guy who was an author. And I was working with all of these different people, but I had no specialization in anything. So they came and they went, and I didn't get paid, and it was hard, and it was long hours, and I was just helping people and not really getting paid unless somebody felt bad for me and they might have donated. And it was just a hard road, and I wasn't getting paid consistently, and I wasn't getting paid my worth. So you can see how painful this is when you don't do what we call your ideal client identification. So you have to specifically say who you're helping, what problem are you solving, and anything else that you know about that avatar. List it out, the psychology, the pain points, what they want, what they need, what they're afraid of, what makes them scared at night. I mean, there's a lot of different things. You could just list out everything you know about them. All right, so that's the very first thing. The second thing I would do in order to really start getting quality clients is I would create what we call an Olympic offer. An Olympic offer. An Olympic offer means you're literally creating the top tier best offer that would make somebody say, I'm going to reach my goal with that. Think about the Olympics. What is the Olympics? The Olympics is a collection of the best athletes in the entire world in all sports. They come together and they compete. Well, what are they competing for? They're competing to achieve the gold, right? They want the gold. They want the gold medal. Well, it's the same thing in business, right? You want to put together for your offer, you want to put together a collection of the best features, the best elements in your program for you to say, look, this right here is what's going to give me the ability to help you achieve your goal. So that's why I say it's really going to be a collection of the best elements, best benefits, the best features that will make somebody say, I want to be able to achieve that. Because before I would just be like, yeah, I can help you build your coaching business. And then I would have people say, yeah, they would shake their head and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I remember getting I kept getting like people half interested. I'm like, man, like, why is nobody really interested in what I have? And then you know what happens? You start feeling bad for yourself. You start having an imposter syndrome. You're like, man, like, you know, can I really provide value? Am I really good enough? You know, should I really be doing this? Can I make money? I see other people doing it, but can I do it? And you start to question yourself. But it wasn't that I didn't have the value to help people in business. It just was, I had a mediocre offer. And this was after I stopped going just from general business, started working with, you know, specifically coaches. But even when I did that, I didn't put together a good offer. It was just like, you know, I'll help you. And I didn't have any other elements of the program that made it sexy. You know, maybe we'll talk on the call every now and then, and it wasn't right. I didn't have digital courses and programs. And by the way, I'm not even saying you have to have 25 of these, but if you get a handful of these, it just makes it more sexy, right? You know, I wasn't really offering ways for people to be held accountable. I didn't have community elements to it. You know, there was a point in time where, you know, I wasn't even launching the paid client acquisition side of things for people so they can be able to launch quality lead generation campaigns online, which now my agency, we do that. So it's like, these are things that I really didn't look at before, but the more of these things that I did to help, not just anything though, the things that I really said is going to help them achieve this goal, grow their business, get closer to their financial goals. See, these are the things that we want. Our goal is to help our audience get a step closer to what they want. You know, 100% of everybody is not going to succeed, and you got to be comfortable with that. At the same time, they will be closer to their goal by working with you than not working with you. I tell people who they come into my world all of the time and they say, yo, coach, see, I'm trying to achieve this goal with my coaching business. You know, I want to make an extra $3,000 a month, $5,000. I want to be able to get a few extra, clients each month. And as they're mentioning this to me, you know, sometimes people get nervous and they're not really sure. It's nerves, you know, I'm about to invest money. I haven't really invested this type of money before. I'm not really sure, you know, because this is the first time they're really taking their business serious. So it's understandable. It's a little bit of nerves. But one of the things I tell the coaches, I say, look, do you think that you'll get closer to your goal, us working together, or it's not working together? And they'll say, working together. And I said, that's all you need. Because I said, as long as we're working together and you're getting closer each and every week, you will have a higher likelihood of success achieving your goal. And that's all we want, is we want to increase the odds. So that's very important too, that you really think through putting that together for your audience. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you want to install the predictability loop. Install what we call a predictability loop. Like, this is like my bread and butter right here. This is one of the biggest things that we do in order to help people get quality clients. Now, that comes down to 3 things. Number 1 is what we call appointment data. Appointment data. So in order to grow your business, get more quality clients, you need to get appointment data. What does appointment data come down to? 2 things: flow and fit. You want to write those down: flow and fit. So flow is lead flow. You can't get appointment data, collect the data of your audience, if you don't have lead flow. You got to have lead flow. This is why I go so hard over paid client acquisition methods, right? I love doing meta ads. This is a particular way you got to do it, but I love doing that, right? So you need paid acquisition. You need a paid acquisition method, because you can't even know who your best buyers are if you're not even getting consistent appointments. If every other week is inconsistent and you can't, you know, this is the biggest challenge that I see with people who are trying to build their business organically. It's like, oh, well, sometimes I post and, you know, but nobody's reaching out. Oh, well, sometimes I go to events, but they're not going to events consistently. So they're not getting leads consistently. So their money is inconsistent. oh, well, I'm doing a little bit of DMs. Well, that's capped. You can't do too many of that or you'll get shadow banned. And if you not consistent with that, then that's also gonna limit you. So it's like, oh, I get referrals or I get word of mouth, but you're not getting the same amount of referrals each week. You're not getting the same amount of word of mouth each week. So guess what's going to happen to your income each week? It's going to be like a roller coaster up and down. So you need to have flow, but you don't just want 100 homeless people being sent to you because you're still not going to grow your business. So that's why you need fit. You also need to make sure that as you're taking the data down, you're also identifying, okay, these are the people that seem to be a good fit, and you have their information. So that's what A is. That's what appointment data is. B is what we call audience intelligence. Audience intelligence. Audience intelligence is all about making sure that now that you got the data, all right, let's focus on the patterns of this audience. Let's focus on what are the things within this audience that I can see. Okay, I got 30% of my calls that I'm on. These are all the commonalities, and these are all the pain points, or these are all the patterns. Okay, now I have a better idea of who I want to help. And then number 3 is what we call adaptive advertising. Adaptive advertising is now we're taking the pain points and the patterns, and we're taking everything that we've learned here, and now we're using that for our advertising that we're upgrading and updating on a daily basis. So that changes the messaging in your videos, that changes the messaging in your footage, your photos, that changes the messaging in your headlines and your descriptions. That changes everything, because the tighter you can get that message, the more quality clients you can get, the more people that you'll be meeting with who will more likely sign up because they're the right type of person. All right, so that's what I call the predictability loop. All right, so hopefully you're taking a lot away from this. If you are, feel free to give this a like. Feel free to throw some comments on this, and let me know if this is helpful to you. All right, and then number 4 is you're going to build a value nurture system. This is what I would do. I would build a value nurture system. So Terrell, what is a value nurture system? So you got to remember, right, when you get people in, everybody's not going to buy right now. Even if they are your ideal client, that don't mean they're going to buy today. So you have to have a way that you're continually providing value and you're nurturing them in order for them to eventually come around. They might not come around today, but it could be in 2 weeks. It could be in 2 months. It could be in 2 years. Who knows? But your goal is to stay top of mind. So when they do make that decision, they're like, damn, I've been seeing his or her email each and every week coming through. I keep seeing their content come through every week. And you know what? Now I'm ready. And I've had that plenty of times. I at least get 20 to 30% of my sales coming each and every month, specifically through not people who came in today or this week, people who've been following me for weeks, months, or even years, and eventually got ready. I remember I had this one lady. She was like, yeah, I've been following you for years. I'm like, really? And we've never even like jumped or anything of that nature. And she was like, I've been following you for years. And, I had a few times throughout the years that I wanted. It was like something crazy, like 6 years. And she was like, yeah, I've been seeing you, but every time I wanted to do it, something in life came up and had a life situation. But I'm excited and ready. And she was so excited and ready. She like, we didn't have to have no follow-up calls. She was just like, I'm ready, and signed up right then and there. It wasn't like I was waiting for 6 years for it to come through, because I wasn't even aware of it. But what I'm saying is I was consistent for 6 years, and I was posting content. And this is how she felt comfortable coming in. So so where should you do that at? So I'm gonna give you 2 ideas. So I want you to pick a platform. So what platform are you on the most? It could be Facebook, Instagram, it could be YouTube. So I want you to pick a platform that you're going to consistently post on. What I recommend is the one that you're always on. Whether you post consistently now or not, it doesn't matter. What's the one you always secretly looking at people through? You always on, you probably log on every day or every week. What's that? That would probably be a good platform for you. And then I always recommend email marketing. So you want to have one that you don't own, which is social media, because at the end of the day, they could shut your account down today, and you don't have your followers. But you want to have, but it is good because that's where people are active at. But you also want to have email. You want to have your email list and do email marketing. That email marketing is going to give you the ability to have their contact information. And then at least a few times a week, or at least once a week, you're emailing value, you're helping them see why you're different, you're just training and you're teaching. So now when they make that decision and they finally say, I want to do something about this problem. I've been struggling with this problem for years. I kept giving myself the excuse while saying, oh, now is not the right time. Look, I'll give you a side note on this. Don't ever give yourself the excuse that now is not the right time. Because what happens is if you say, yo, I'm busy because of the kids or this or that, what that means is that you think what you're saying is at a better time, I'm gonna really start taking it serious. But let's be real though. Let's just assume that the heavens opened up, the sun is shining on you. I hear the birds chirping and singing in your ear. And then you say, now is the perfect time. And then a week later, something happens. You get busy. Somebody gets sick. You got to take more hours at the job. Whatever happens, right? Somebody passes away. Now, guess what? All of this time you waited a whole 6 months. You waited a whole year. Something happened a week later, and now you can't work, right? So you'll never get ahead like that and be able to build your business consistently, make money. You'll never be able to go full time if you don't learn how to be productive during a busy season. That's the perfect time to learn how to be productive, because that's when you have your ability to figure it out. Because then if you know how to be productive when you're busy and you know how to set up the systems, because you're forced to do it. So you're forced to set up the systems, you're forced to get the help, you're forced to figure out what to prioritize versus trying to do everything. See, when you're busy, I love working with busy people. That's my favorite type of people to work with, because you don't have time like that. So if you're like, yo, I only got 10, 15, 20 hours a week, you're going to be very strategic. You're going to say, okay, I only got 3 hours today to work on my business. Okay. And then you locked in, right? As opposed to somebody who's working full time and you got all the time in the world. You just I noticed that and it was me too, just be willy-nilly. And, you just do everything and you just think everything is important. And you just kind of, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this today. Oh, I'm just going to mess around with some content. Oh, I just want to work on my website and my logo all day. Oh, I'm just going to do the colors. Oh, I want to spend a whole day of research. And you just doing a bunch of things that has nothing to do with you making money. Getting in front of the ideal client, getting in front of the quality client, getting in front of better clients in order to build your business and make money. And so that's what it is. So you got to realize that, you will have some people who think about that initially, but at some point they're going to snap into reality and they're going to say, oh, hold on, I actually got to get things done. I actually want to make money. I actually want to make an impact. And then guess what's going to happen? They're going to see your post again. They're going to see that email again. And then that is when they're going to join your program. All right. So hopefully that this was helpful to you today. This is what I would do if I wanted to get better clients this year. And just follow this blueprint step by step. If you really love this video, go ahead and give this a like. I'm curious to know, what was your biggest takeaway? What was the best point for you? Was it, really figuring out your ideal client identification? Is that where you're at right now and what you need to do? Is it creating an Olympic offer, something that they're like, yo, that's going to get me to the gold right there. I need that. I'm going to need my goal. That's what's going to get me. That's what I've been looking for. Is it going to be the predictability loop and like, yo, I know I need this lead flow? Is it going to be like, yo, I know I got to make sure that I'm really putting out messaging that's attracting my ideal client, because I haven't really been doing that. Is that it? Right? Or is it you haven't really been nurturing? You've been having people on your email list. You've been having people following you for years, but you haven't really been providing the type of value that they want. So they never came to you at a later date. All right. So let me know which one is where you're at right now. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.